the wrong lessons from the 2024 elections. Republicans didn't win because a majority of voters signed on to their agenda. They won because the Biden-Harris administration was an utter, arrogant failure, and because Donald Trump is a unique and engaging pop culture figure who was able to capture key constituencies of working class and minority voters. Republicans haven't yet cemented this new coalition. They can, but they'll need to enact policies that make these new voters' lives noticeably better. Let's get to work. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, it is Sunday night in Chicago. The Bears lost again in overtime. Looked promising for a while there, but they did not make it through. Army lost. Haven't had a loss since last year, and I think October. Took their first loss, but guess what? The big game is in November, and we are looking good to beat Navy. I think we have a much, much better team. So that, all in all, football season's going okay, or typical. If you're a Bears watcher, unfortunately. But there's more important things to discuss. And I got to tell you, my Watchdogs came up with this one. Kirk sent me to this to me just before the show started. I missed it. It was a Fox News article just published late this afternoon. And the headline, Blinken questioned for State Department hosting in-house therapy sessions after Trump win. Darrell Issa demanded Blinken reveal how much the sessions cost the State Department. You can't even make this up. Yes. Anthony Blinken, basically it was reported that the State Department held therapy sessions for employees who were upset by President-elect Trump's election victory. I'm concerned that the department is catering to federal employees who are personally devastated by the normal functioning of American democracy through the provision of government-funded mental health counseling because Kamala Harris was not elected president of the United States, Darrell Issa said in a letter to Blinken last week. The letter comes after the Free Beacon reported earlier this month that in an earlier report, detailed 2 alleged therapy sessions that were held at the State Department after Trump's victory, with sources telling the outlet that one such instance amounted to an information cry session. I thought these were adults running. No, they're not. They're not adults. They're crybabies. In another instance, an email went out to agency employees and touted a separate insightful webinar where we delve into effective stress management techniques to help you navigate these challenging times after Trump's victory, according to the report. I mean, come on. I want to know how much this costs too, and I'm sure Trump's new team of Vivek and Elon, part of the Dodge team, Department of Government Efficiency. I'm sure that they're going to want to find out too. This is the absolute type of waste, fraud, and abuse that taxpayers are sick of. We're absolutely sick of it. It could be weapons to Ukraine, or it could be therapy sessions after Kamala loses in the State Department. Either way, at some point we have to talk about what we are able to afford. And there's no discussion about that. And guess who laid that out? Well, Russ Vought, who is President Trump's new pick for the Office of Management and Budget. He'll be the director there. Another thing that locals might want to know is Russ Vought graduated from Wheaton College. So that's good too, in my opinion. But here's Russ Vought speaking with Tucker Carlson about the state of the state when it comes to considering how much money we're spending. Let's take a listen.
We haven't had any spending reductions in like 20 years, right?
But we're bankrupt, right?
But we're bankrupt, and there's just this notion that nothing can be done about it. We still pass $100 billion Ukraine checks. Even if you thought it was a good idea, you can't afford it. You never have the affordability conversation at all. And
is that true?
It's totally true. Literally, no one ever talks about affordability, what we can do.
And these foreign heads of state show up and demand money from us. And nobody ever says, I like your country, or I don't, or whatever. Or I think you've got a good point, love to help you, but we're just out of dough. Nobody even suggests that or dares think that. What is that?
They just assume the gravy train's going to keep on going.
That's right. And, there's the same assumption. Well, there has been the same assumption in the state of Illinois, too. But that gravy train in the state of Illinois is ending. And let's hope that Vivek and Elon Musk are very instrumental in bringing some government efficiency to the state of Illinois, whether or not the Democrats want it, whether or not. Because if they don't play ball on some of the initiatives that Trump wants, like deportation of illegal immigrants and getting rid of trans surgeries for minors, if they don't play ball with him, they're going to lose a lot of federal funding. The power of the purse is very powerful. Trust me. And everybody in Springfield has had their hand out. That's why we've had a 32% increase in the budget in just 5 years under Governor Pritzker. That's why we're now spending $53.1 billion, and nearly $1 billion is going to illegal immigrants. That's why they started all these new programs during COVID with all that COVID relief money, thinking that the gravy train was going to continue. But guess what? We cannot print money in the state of Illinois like they can at the federal government. And the warning alarms are being sounded. And that alarm is being sounded by Governor Pritzker's own Office of Management and Budget. In fact, that person happens to be Andy Minar. He's the Deputy Governor for Budget and the Economy. And in a memo to agency directors on November 21st, this week, he wrote, on November 1st, GOMB's, that's the Governor's Office of Management and Budget's Economic and Fiscal Policy Report was published. The report provides a look toward the next 5 fiscal years and serves as a valuable tool to help us understand the fiscal challenges we face and develop proactive solutions to meet those challenges. This year's report outlines the impact of a slowing national economy. In addition, the report also begins to quantify the impact of medical inflation, required pension contribution increases. They always go up, by the way. They're over 20% of the budget. Statutory shifts of sales tax revenues away from general funds, and FY 2025 budget transfers that will not be repeated in FY 26. The report shows the initial FY 26 general funds revenue forecast is roughly flat to FY 25 revenues. That means they don't think they're going to get any new tax revenue in. The report illustrates that the combined impact, assuming modest agency budget growth in the 2 to 4% range, yields a general funds budget shortfall of over $3 billion. $3 billion for next year. And over the next 5 years, a total of $23 billion is projected when you look at their longer report, their 17-page report. You can find all of this online. I will say this. Most of the fiscal issues that Illinois suffers from, it's all right there. Anybody can read it. They publish these reports. You can go to COGFA. You can go to the GOMB. You can read their reports. You can read their summaries, their budget summaries on a monthly basis. But nobody seems to want to do that work. But here's the great news. The great news is that come hell or high water, because Trump is in office. He has people like Russ Vought at the helm. He's got bringing in Vivek and Elon to actually root out fraud, waste, and abuse. Because all of that is happening, we here in Illinois are going to be the beneficiaries of that. So we're going to take a quick break. We're getting to the Watchdogs earlier tonight than normal. We'll be right back after this break with John Kraft and Kirk Allen of the Edgar County Watchdogs.
German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer joined a deadly plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler during World War II. And now his story of risking his life to save others is coming to theaters November 22nd. Win a trip to New York to meet Bonhoeffer scholar Eric Metaxas and see a Broadway show by entering today at 560theanswer.com/NYC. That's 560theanswer.com/NYC. And get your tickets today to see Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin in theaters November 22nd.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you know, you watch the TV articles, you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Oh, I have a friend, Julia, who has taken a Balance of Nature now for quite some time. And she said, oh, Becky, ask your doctor about taking Balance of Nature. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she said, oh, try it.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's time for Christmas at Cantini, a time for laughter and joy. A time for cherished moments by coming together with the ones you love. Be awed by twinkling lights. Feel the thrill of gliding on ice. And enjoy the cozy warmth of s'mores by the fire. Cherish the moments together this holiday season at Christmas at Cantini. Get your tickets at cantini.org. Sponsored by the Robert R. McCormick Foundation.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. You know what that music means? It means it's time for the Watchdogs. John and Kirk, thanks so much for joining me on this Sunday night. And by the way, to my listeners, to my listeners, the phone number here is 312-642-5600. If you want to weigh in on the conversation, we'll take your questions probably in the next half hour because we have a lot to cover with John and Kirk. Hey, I had a great idea. I think that we should really turn our attention in 2025 to helping Vivek and Elon and just ferret out all fraud, waste, and abuse that we possibly can. Like, we should have our own internal Illinois tip line and then somehow get it all the way back up to them and make sure that they know where we want them to look for cuts.
We're all in.
Yeah. I know you would fit right in with their organization, in my opinion. Maybe I'll suggest that. I'm gonna see if I can get you guys as part of their group.
Oh, I think we can make a world of difference. There's no doubt. We know where to look, and we know where it's at. It's just a matter of getting people to do something about it.
Well, and that is the case. But apparently, you just sent me this new article, and apparently, you said that there's been a 180-degree turnaround in Yale, Illinois, after you guys raised attention to them doing things improper. We'd like to hear some good news.
Yeah, it was a welcome change of pace to be able to write that article, because when I went to that meeting, I didn't know what to expect based on what I had found before, because things were a mess.
Can you just recap for the audience, the listening audience, why you first got involved with this?
Well, we had several complaints that there was a lot of self-dealing down there, and multiple family members on the board. No meetings getting posted. There's no minutes, no agendas. I mean, just about everything you can imagine was not being done. And when I got my records, we wrote our first article and exposed all that. But through that process, while I'm gathering this stuff, they themselves took it upon themselves to go ahead and get their training for FOIA, Freedom of Information. They did their OMA stuff. I go down to the meeting. They've got an agenda posted, first one in probably 40 years. And they'd already taken steps to fix several things. They stopped the president mowing. He had no idea that he wasn't supposed to be doing that because that's how it's been done for 40 years in that little community. They even had a tractor that if you wanted to use a tractor there in town, just come down and get it. Anybody could use the tractor. Well, they put a stop to that, realized that's improper. And although it's a small town and you always end up having, multiple family members on some of these boards, it's the nature of the beast. They actually were transparent. They hired an attorney. They're trying to do it right, and they were adamant they're going to do it right. And they appreciated all the information we gave them. And I wish I could write stories like that every week.
Wow, that's great. That's terrific. They just didn't know. I mean, it just felt right to them. Well, sure, I'll just, you know what? I won't charge a contractor to mow the city property. Let's just buy a tractor. I'll mow it. I don't care, right? I'll do it a lot cheaper or whatever. But yeah, you can't necessarily do that, can you?
Yeah, they definitely they were an example of how it should be. I told some of the folks I met with before, every meeting we go to, we know in the first 2 to 3 minutes whether or not we're going to have to come back and keep bird dogging stuff. And in the first 2 minutes, I knew that this wasn't going to be a problem. These people were actually fixing things.
But when you first showed up, did you get that sense, or did their jaws drop to the ground when you confronted them with things that were improper?
Nope. It was absolutely as pleasant as could be. We had a pleasant dialogue. They gave me a copy of the agenda, which was a shock because they'd never had agendas, and they appreciated me coming. I set up the camera, and they didn't have any problems whatsoever. I mean, it was truly. I can't remember the last time I saw something like this, Jeannie. They could be an example for more public bodies across the state.
So do you feel, though, that there's maybe also a learning lesson here for state government that basically regulates every municipality in the country in Illinois? Do you think? I mean, this is a very small community. I can't remember. Are there 100 people there or something like that? It's not very big.
Yeah, approximately 100 people. They told me 80 during the meeting.
So do you feel, though, that all of the rules that we have, things were working fine for them, and unless they got some sort of big infrastructure project that really did need oversight and proper contracting and bidding and everything, do you feel like we're overstepping our bounds to some degree? We're not letting people rule the way they want to rule. I mean, are they going to have a lot more cost incurred now that they had to do this extra work?
Well, they're probably going to have an attorney fee.
Right, an attorney fee is what I'm thinking.
I don't think that the mowing. I don't think you're going to see much of a change in that. Mm-hmm. There's only 4 small lots or 5 lots that they have to mow. I even gave them some suggestions on how to get kids involved with a school program or a school contest, and the winner of the educational contest can get to mow it 3 times, and second place can mow it twice, and third place can mow it once, and do that on a rotating schedule and get some of the kids involved.
Mm-hmm.
So they were receptive. The part that was shocking, though, from a state oversight, they hadn't had any elections. Everybody there was appointed. When there's a vacancy, they just appoint. And they knew they needed to have elections, and they thought they were all on the ballot, for this, this coming election. And I'm like, I don't think that's accurate. And the attorney, he opines like, no, they're supposed to be staggered seats. We're going to have to get that squared away. So the county clerk, you would think the county clerk would be on top of that, but apparently not.
Yeah, no, there was definitely a bunch of misses up the whole chain of command when you look at all the levels of government that are over them and are supposed to be monitoring them, correct?
Correct.
Are they doing annual reports? Audited financials?
I have
Any
not
of the
dove
above?
into the comptrollers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got that far yet.
Right.
If they haven't, I can assure you they will.
Yeah, well, that's great. That is really it's a pleasure to have that that great story. But let's turn to John. John, we have a totally different story when it comes to Dalton.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks for having us. Yeah, Kurt talked about people wanting to do the right thing, and then now we're talking about somebody that should know what the right thing is and is doing everything that she can do to do it wrong.
That's
I mean, it's
America's most famous mayor, Tiffany Henyard.
There's so much wrong in Dalton and Thornton Township. We lose track of it. I mean, she's resorting to having some alleged business with no business license publish press releases on her behalf to trash on the two trustees that doesn't do what she wants. Here in the last couple of weeks, they've one of the trustees got a no contact order for one of Tiffany Henyard's, strong arm people that I think works maybe in Thornton Township. But Henyard keeps having him at the meeting, so the trustee won't go to the meeting because she doesn't want to be around that person. Dalton trustees voted to quit paying the lease payments for two outrageously expensive police SUVs with, I think, 18 or 20+% interest, and then they turned the police cars back into the dealer. They told them that was an illegal contract. You never should have had it to begin with. We're not going to pay it. Here's the two vehicles back. So that saves them a ton of money every month.
But who buys vehicles with 18 to 20% interest, especially if they're your municipality? I mean, I know the state of Illinois is bad, but our credit rating did increase. And what is their credit rating? It's probably junk. I don't know.
It's got to be pretty crappy because the banks that the village did business with told them to find other banks. We're not going to deal with you anymore. The banks that the township was dealing with told them they're not going to carry their money anymore. Go find other banks to do business with. So the banks have even told them to get lost. We're not going to deal with you anymore. And there's other things. She keeps trying to have meetings in places that won't handle the number of people that want to show up, and the court ordered her to hold the meetings, the village meetings, at the park district because it's a large enough room, and the trustees at the township, the two good trustees, just go in the basement when there's a meeting, and she eventually wanders down there and holds the meeting in the basement, only when she's forced to all the time, just so the public has access to meetings. And then when she knows things doesn't go her way, people that are on her side throw a fit during the meeting, and there's all this fake outrage, and then the meeting is adjourned because she'll say she feels threatened.
So the good news is the public is still showing up at their local meetings, correct?
And the trustees, who either have a majority of the board in Dalton,
Yep,
or an equal number in Thornton Township, are basically that they're now running the show. She has lost all respect of residents and fellow elected officials. And she's not going to gain it back. And there's an election in 2025 in the spring.
Now, did she file for it? And did the good trustees, did they refile? And how about the bad trustees? What is the situation? Because the filing period's now over.
Okay, for the village, you got a slate of the good trustees plus a couple new ones.
Okay.
Running for all the open positions. She did file with some other trustee or candidates for the village. I can't see her ever getting reelected.
Of course not.
And
Did somebody else file as mayor to run against her?
Yeah, one of the current trustees.
Okay, one of the current trustees.
One of
Okay.
the current good trustees.
So they should
And
be
for
in
the
good shape,
township,
but it's going to take them years really to dig out of the financial mess that she's created for them. Any other movement on her being indicted by the feds?
Not yet. I mean, we just keep our fingers crossed. The
Mm-hmm.
township's going to have a Democrat and Republican caucuses to slate candidates, and if she doesn't get slated, which I doubt she will, she'll probably run as an independent.
Okay, so that's great. In Thornton Township, you've got a sufficient amount of Republicans who said we're putting our own slate together. Here it is.
And the Democrats are. The
Democrats are putting a slate together, and the Republicans are putting a slate together, so people have a choice?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no
I
other...
believe the mayor of Harvey is going to be running for supervisor on the Democrat slate.
Okay, I don't know anything about him, but you can't get worse than Tiffany Henyard. Well, maybe you can. I mean, remember how we said that about Lori Lightfoot, and then we got Brandon Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get worse in the state of Illinois. I wouldn't put it past it, but that's me. A little pessimistic about it. So, all right, okay. Hey, well, you guys, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Not in your regular time slot, but I appreciate you adjusting, and we will be talking to you later this week for the next round. For next Sunday. Right. So thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. All right, that's the Edgar County Watchdogs, John Kraft, Kirk Allen. And yeah, honestly, I'm going to forward their names somehow to Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and make them a part of DOGE. The Office of Government Efficiency. We certainly need that in the state of Illinois, and these guys have done the best job out of anybody else to raise awareness about malfeasance, fraud, waste, abuse, you name it, criminal activity. The Edgar County Watchdogs are always on top of it. We'll be right back with Dr. William Crevier. We're going to find out what he thinks of RFK and Maha.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka is still living on the high.
It still doesn't sink in. I catch myself several times a day just wanting to shout the words, he won. I don't think it's sunk in quite yet because so many people work so very, very hard. How do we know that? Because she lost over 10 million votes by comparison to Joe Biden.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Fox News. I'm Deborah Valentine. The Iran-backed militant group launching a massive barrage of missiles into Israel today. Fox's Alex Hogan reports from Tel Aviv on Hezbollah.
The Iranian-backed militant group launched more than 200 rockets and missiles across the country, according to the IDF. One of those strikes hit central Israel, wounding several people there. And further north in the city of Haifa, a rocket hit a residential building, wounding at least 3 others.
The strikes follow Israel's attack Saturday in Beirut, which killed at least 20 people. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau coming under fire after he attended a Taylor Swift concert in Toronto, seen dancing as violent anti-NATO pro-Palestinian protests erupted in Montreal. Fox's Madeline Rivera.
Montreal police say there are more protests scheduled as a NATO conference takes place in the city.
Trudeau denouncing the violence. America's listening to Fox News.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. There are limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gay Vallis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. For the first time in 4 decades, Republicans are basking in the embrace of pop culture. Boxers and football players are doing the Trump dance. Leaning right is the new counterculture. It's fun for conservatives to swim in the mainstream, especially after having been marginalized by the left for so long. But Republicans will make a great mistake if they draw the wrong lessons from the 2024 elections. Republicans didn't win because a majority of voters signed on to their agenda. They won because the Biden-Harris administration was an utter, arrogant failure, and because Donald Trump is a unique and engaging pop culture figure who was able to capture key constituencies of working class and minority voters. Republicans haven't yet cemented this new coalition. They can, but they'll need to enact policies that make these new voters' lives noticeably better. Let's get to work. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text TAP to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text TAP to 321-321. That's TAP to 321-321.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. It is The Real Story. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday night. We've got a great guest in this next segment. Before we get to him, because this actually matters. Wall Street Journal, a 12-year-old's journey into the world of Ozempic. A mother found success with a weight loss drug after a lifelong battle. Noticing her daughter start down the same path, she decided to have her try semaglutide. Katie Handler spent much of her life in a battle with food noise. It started in childhood when she would shame eat packets of Devil's Foods cookies after school and hide the wrappers. As an adult, she stewed over whether to order a salad or a cheeseburger for lunch. When her daughter Birdie started exhibiting similar behaviors around age 8, she recognized them right away. She noticed Birdie would fixate on the promise of particular foods like ice cream and get upset when she couldn't eat them. She watched her regularly eat adult-sized portions at meals and asked for seconds. She heard her make negative comments about how she looked in her clothes. It felt familiar. Handler started keeping a close eye on what Birdie was eating, enrolled her in therapy, and encouraged her to walk more in the New York neighborhood, and eventually sent her to weight loss camp. Even while she was encouraging her daughter to be healthier, she felt bad about the way she was doing it. The story is very, very long. It's really lengthy. I won't read it all, but you get the point. You understand what's happening here. In the end, Handler was still dealing with her own weight loss struggles, and she went to her primary care doctor and asked about taking GLP-1, a class of diabetes and weight loss drugs known for brands as Ozempic and Wegovy. She couldn't afford to pay him, though, after she lost her job. They're $1,000 a month. And eventually, as the article goes on, she started giving a similar cocktail of drugs to her daughter. Her daughter lost some weight from it. She's lost weight, but now the FDA has come in and said, you can't give it to 12-year-olds. We're making it for 13-year-olds. What's the mother to do? she's looking at finding another way to get it to her 12-year-old. And this is the state of medicine in our country. And I think this is exactly what RFK wants to fix. So here to talk about that, because he absolutely is the right guy, is, and if I can find his bio, what did I do with it? Oh my goodness. It's Dr. William Crevier. He's a board-certified internist and pediatrician, and he's the president of the Center for Primary Health Care in Orland Park, where he provides whole-person primary care addressing the physical and spiritual needs of his patients. He lived in the inner city for 9 years and is the founder of 2 Christian health centers on Chicago's South Side, which now provide approximately 180,000 visits of care to medically underserved persons annually. He loves to mentor high school, college, and health professional students. He enjoys camping, hiking, cross-country skiing, woodworking, and freshwater microscopy. He's the father of 6 children and is married to Carol Crevier, who has been instrumental in managing their medical practice and in doing the research that forms the basis for the care given. And the reason that I've become familiar with Dr. Crevier is that he cared for hundreds of patients with COVID and continues to provide early treatment with medications known to improve outcomes. Some would say that he went rogue on COVID. That's not true. He used his own medical background to treat his patients best. And in that regard, I think he and RFK have much in common. He joins me right now. Thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story, Dr. Crevier.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, let's just get started right away. What do you think of the RFK decision, and what do you expect he will do, and what excites you about what he's all about?
Well, no appointment is perfect, but I think like many other Trump appointments, RFK will be a disruptor. His major concerns have to do with corruption within the agencies, FDA, NIH, as well as returning us to a more evidence-based approach to medicine. And in addition, he wants to really try to address the chronic disease problems in children, to which you alluded in your earlier conversation there. Specifically, I think what we have to recognize is that the FDA, 50% of its budget comes from big pharma. And the NIH, there's about 1,600 employees that receive royalty payments from the same companies that they're supposed to be regulating. And 9 of the 10 last FDA directors became directors of big pharma companies, so there's a sort of revolving door. The other problem really has to do with the medical journals themselves. And if you look at this concern about evidence-based medicine, this goes back at least a couple decades. Dr. Marcia Angel, who in the early 2000s was the editor-in-chief of the New England Journal, resigned then because she felt that much of the clinical research that was being published had various conflicts of interest. And that's not difficult to understand when you realize the cost to randomize 500 to 1,000 patients in these randomized controlled trials can cost upwards of $5 million. And in addition, the reviewers don't ever see the raw data. And this concern has been represented also in more recent publications in the British Medical Journal. So getting at corruption in the journals, getting at evidence-based data is going to be an important issue. And in regard to the concern about children, chronic disease, and so forth, you have to see that about 50% of our children now are pre-diabetic. We have we have an epidemic, or really a pandemic, related to food and the oxidative stress related to processed food. So you have about 30 million Americans now that are diabetic and 70 million that are pre-diabetic. And about 1 out of every 5 children is on some sort of medication, and about 40% of children have been diagnosed with some sort of mental health disorder. And so, his appeal is going to be to try to look at toxins in the environment, chemicals, pollutants, big food, big pharma. And I believe he'll try to take us beyond the big pharma-sponsored trials, trying to aim at root cause and prevention. I mean, the example you gave, of course, was of a child who developed diabetes and was being given medication. right? Which is
Well, I don't know. They didn't say that she was probably pre-diabetic because she was on the 98th percentile for her weight. In the story, they went on to say that she was 5'1" and weighed 161 pounds as a 12-year-old. That's outrageous.
Right.
That's very dangerous. So she, no doubt, probably she was pre-diabetic, but it sounded to me like they were giving her the medicine more for weight control, which I know that plays into diabetes, rather than like insulin control, I guess, or something. In fact, it's not an insulin drug, is it?
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that what we really have to address, and I think this is what RFK's passion is going to be, is to address the root causes of these problems rather than treating diseases with medications. So I'm pretty excited about what he can do. I don't agree with all of his positions on different things, but I think he'll be a disruptor, and I think that's what we need right now.
So he certainly has some ability to influence a big pharma, a big agriculture, big food processing. Certainly he can do that, just in terms of forcing them to be more transparent, forcing them to do more studies on what they do, obviously. But I mean, look, we like our freedom, and some of us like our, Twinkies. And are we really going to go that far?
Right.
I think that we've got a bigger challenge in that we need to create a lifestyle change in many Americans, and that could take generations. What's the answer to that?
Well, no, to your point, regardless who's in the position at FDA, NIH, or HHS, we all have to really own this issue.
That's right.
And the issues that we really have to face have to do with issues that fundamentally revolve around lifestyle. And so, for example, I often talk to my patients about the need to, regardless of how old or young they are, to start taking a look at how they do food, exercise, sleep, and spiritual care. Because, when we look at the major issues that affect people in the 70s and 80s, they're dealing really with the after effects of metabolic disease or neurocognitive disease or orthopedic diseases. So regardless of who's in office, we have to take ownership of that, basically trying to eat less carbs, less processed foods. Intermittent fasting is a good idea. Again, exercise, even if it's low weight training or low risk aerobic exercise. These are all very important. There's actually a book that I'd recommend to all of our listeners. It's called Metabolical by a guy named Robert Lustig. And he's been kind of a pioneer in all this. And in terms of, shepherding this idea of food and trying to get people aware of it. But we're going to have to do a lot different than what we've been doing.
Absolutely. Hey, Dr. Crevier, I'm going to have you hold on. We're going to take just a very, very short break here. I've pared it down so I can get back to the conversation with you. We've got a lot more to discuss. We'll be right back to my listeners, more about Dr. Crevier, and I want to get his feedback on COVID since he spent so much time dealing with it.
Hi, everyone. If you or someone you know were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma within the past 20 years, listen up, because you could be entitled to significant cash compensation. For years, the weed killer Roundup was used in homes, farms, and gardens, and now studies have proven a direct link between Roundup and this deadly cancer. So if you or someone you know have been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, call us and find out if you qualify for a cash settlement. 800-842-6060. That's 800-842-6060. Time to file a claim is running out, so don't delay. The call is free, the consultation is free, and you can find out if you qualify for a monetary award. Call 800-842-6060. That's 800-842-6060. 800-842-6060. Call now.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Balance of Nature, the quality of our products always starts with TLC, tender, loving care. We start by ensuring that only the finest fruit and vegetable ingredients are selected for our supplements. We put our ingredients through an advanced vacuum cold process that removes their moisture. Then they're ground up into a fine powder, encapsulated, and voila! Our fruits and veggies supplements are made just for you with love. And our commitment to care doesn't end there. Our customer care team is here to provide assistance, ensuring that you have the support and guidance you need. It's the tender, loving care you can see, smell, taste, and feel with every delivery. Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, welcome back. Well, if you were listening just previously, listen, that was free advice from Dr. William Crevier. I'm not going to get a bill in the mail for that, I don't think, but he just laid out exactly what we need to do to stay healthy, and he's absolutely right. So much of it is in our own control. But that's a conversation we could have, an endless conversation. We could talk for 2 hours about that. But I also, because you are a lot of people came to you during COVID because you were willing to do things that other doctors were not. And not that what you were doing was incorrect. It was just that you were willing to look at the full, menu of options that you had available for you to treat the people. And so I did want to turn to COVID because it's also interesting that Trump has picked some of the biggest folks who were outspoken about how NIH and the CDC and HHS handled COVID. Those outspoken people are now going to be coming into his cabinet. Dr. Marty Makary is FDA chair. Of course, RFK is Health and Human Services Secretary. And it looks like Bhattacharya, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but it looks like he might be going to NIH. So let's just turn to that. What did they absolutely get wrong about COVID? I mean, and I'm going to be honest with my listeners, I didn't buy into any of it from the get-go. None of it.
Well, there are at least a dozen lies. I think the first lie was that we were facing a novel respiratory pathogen that scientists had no idea how to handle. I mean, we had a lot of information from SARS-1, and actually there was SARS-CoV-2 was in publication in 2015. This was not a novel virus. In fact, there's 73 patents on this virus. Again, pointing to other design in it.
That's a big lie.
Yeah. And so the other lie was that there was no one had natural immunity because it was a completely novel virus, which is not the case. Coronaviruses account for about 1/6 of low-level upper respiratory infections, and so there was some crossover immunity. And children, especially, had a very benign outcome to this, even when we were in the Alpha, Delta, the most serious variants. Currently the actual death rate for children is 1 in a million. So the need for vaccination, together with, based on the infection fatality rate as well as the natural immunity rate, which is over 90%, is just not there for children. And so, when you look also at the fact I mentioned that this was not a novel virus, there were a number of readily available therapeutics. For example, hydroxychloroquine. This drug was recognized very early on. It's one of the first drugs recognized in the pandemic to have efficacy, and it was recognized around April of 2020. And what we saw in hydroxychloroquine was that there were 17 early treatment studies that showed a 76% reduction in mortality. Ivermectin, there was 51 studies that showed a 49% decrease in mortality, so these therapeutics were readily available. We used them in our practice, and many people benefited from them. In addition, vitamin D. Many people don't realize that we're all photosynthetic. We make vitamin D through sunlight hitting our skin. This actually, there were about 67 studies that showed a 36% reduction in mortality. Vitamin D is amazing. If you don't, it's sort of the conductor in your immune system orchestra. And unfortunately, our people at the Institute of Medicine had recommended only an RDA of 400 units, when in fact it really needs to be about 4,000. Wow. There's studies and people, when they saw this data came out, about a decade ago, and when that study was criticized, and they were told that they were off by a factor of 10, they didn't change their data. And unfortunately, we saw a number of people of color, especially, about 90% have low vitamin D levels. And so had we done the right thing and recommended the current RDA on that, we probably wouldn't have seen as much mortality. And what we see with vitamin D is it actually works through a pathway we call an epigenetic pathway, where it turns on certain switches in your DNA to help produce antiviral proteins, and it turns off the cytokine pathways.
But
so,
people
anyway,
were told
treatment,
to, instead, though, people were told to social distance, mask up, lock down, don't show up, don't go outside.
Right,
I mean, some Karen
All of
came
those things.
screaming at my kid, my 18-year-old and his friends playing basketball in July on a nice day. Came screaming at her. You can't play basketball here. It's ridiculous.
I remember a helicopter hovering about 200 feet away from me when I was out at the beach in the summer. Okay. Okay.
But all
They
that
were
was
trying to
false
get
too,
us off
right?
the beach.
The mass studies, the
Right. Well,
the
so
one
the
way
mass
down the grocery aisle, all that was garbage, right?
Right. Social distancing. Deborah Bird, who had recommended that, has confessed to her sins. Knew quite well that this was a lie. And then if you look at some of the Cochrane studies, Cochrane's one of the best reviewer of these things. They recognized a long time ago that masks don't work. In fact, you have to look at a mask as a medical device. And so the data was republished in 2023, but it had already been published 10 years earlier when they looked at influenza. And so masks, a surgical mask is kind of like trying to keep a gnat out of a chain link fence. Okay, that's how efficacious they are. The other thing you have to measure medical devices are not just efficacy but safety. And within a half an hour, children, their carbon dioxide level goes up. You have to realize you're rebreathing pathogens, and we don't know what particulate matter we are using. I mean, surgical masks are designed to keep the surgeon's spit out of the surgical field. Okay, and they work pretty well for that. Okay. And so the studies from Cochrane not only showed that these masks didn't work, but also that the N95 masks were not very effective either. So that was a bogus idea. The thing about lockdowns, you mentioned lockdowns, there's no data that show lockdowns work. We see a lot of social and economic harm. There's severe effect on children and how they affected children's education. It was just terrible. But we know that, there's well-published studies now that demonstrate the economic, impact, the negative economic impact.
Dr. Crevier, we got to leave it there. But I want to thank you so much for coming on and adding a little bit of sanity to this and weighing in on RFK Jr. We're expecting good things from here, and we hope that you have a very successful practice. Thanks for everything you do to help everybody with their medical issues. You are a godsend and
and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference
for you. Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text TAP to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text TAP to 321-321. That's TAP to 321-321.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, welcome back. Yes, hey, just to close out this hour, wasn't Dr. Crevier great? We're going to have him back more, trust me. Coming up, though, after this, we have my favorite, Steve Goreham, and guess the COP29 just ended. That's the United Nations Climate Conference, and they want $300 billion from wealthy countries. We're going to get his response to that, plus his how he feels about Chris Wright now going to be the Secretary of Energy. So we'll be right back with that. There's much more of The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. Just hang on.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer.
Confirmation hearings next. I'm Deborah Valentine, Fox News. President-elect Trump's cabinet nominations facing confirmation hearings before the U.S. Senate. Fox's Gernell Scott.
GOP Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee said after the inauguration in January, President-elect Trump won't want time wasted placing cabinet picks.
He wants us to have these hearings done quickly and expeditiously. I've said I'm more than happy to work through the weekends as long as it takes.
But Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, said they have to assess qualifications and...
Are their views consistent with the American people's in terms of where we need to move forward as a country?
Both were on ABC's This Week. Senator Klobuchar adds she believes there are Republicans who will not allow recess appointments without Senate votes for cabinet posts. Gernall Scott, Fox News.
Thanksgiving holiday travel's expected to set new records this year.
Nearly 80 million Americans are expected to travel during the Thanksgiving holiday period, which kicks off tomorrow and runs through December 2nd. More than 71 million of those will go by car, with almost 6 million traveling by plane. FAA Chief Michael Whitaker says Tuesday will be the busiest air travel day and reminds travelers about the zero-tolerance policy for unruly behavior on flights.
We will not hesitate to pursue civil penalties, legal enforcement action against any passenger who assaults, threatens, intimidates, or interferes with airline crew members.
More than 2 million people are expected to get where they're going with buses, cruises, and trains. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Holiday travelers will find gas prices at a new national average of $3.12 a gallon, down 3 cents from last week. Houston has the lowest local average at $2.54 a gallon. The San Francisco area, the highest at $4.55 a gallon. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Tonight, low clouds and mild with brief showers. We'll see a low of 47 tonight. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a little rain and a high of 51. Breezy and colder on Tuesday with intervals of clouds and sun, high 39. Cloudy on Wednesday with a high of 43. Thursday, partly sunny and chilly. We'll see a high of 37 on Thursday. I'm Jillian Ford on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Attention, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Well, listen, Trump's going to have a fight on his hands. There's no doubt, especially when it comes to the climate hysteria. They're continuing it on. COP29, it just finished up in Azerbaijan, of all places. It's in Azerbaijan. I don't know how they picked that spot, but they probably met their entire country's GDP just on that one visit. So this is not going to die easily at all. Take a listen here from the climate deal.
We are extremely, extremely disappointed.
Developing nations slammed a global climate financing deal as woefully insufficient, as delegates at the COP29 summit in Baku adopted a $300 billion annual target on Sunday to help them deal with impacts of climate change.
I regret to say that this document is nothing more than an optical illusion. This, in our opinion, will not address the enormity of the challenge we all face.
The agreement was clinched in overtime at the 2-week conference in Azerbaijan's capital. It commits rich countries to providing $300 billion a year by 2035 in climate financing. That's a boost from the previous deal of $100 billion annually by 2020. That earlier goal was met 2 years late in 2022 and expires next year.
Yeah, so, I was looking around at some of the clips. They had all the climate hysteria there. They had people from Ecuador and Australia and African countries all claiming that fossil fuels are making their lives worse, and all deriding the fact that there's a lot of mining going on in their countries. Well, guess what? A lot of that mining has to do with what they think is clean energy, and it's not. Here to discuss COP29 and much, much more, especially how successful he thinks Trump will be in righting the ship when it comes to actually producing reliable and affordable energy, is Steve Goreham. He's the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America and the author of 4 books on energy, climate change, sustainable development, and public policy with over 100,000 copies in print. His latest book, Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure, was published in August of last year. You've heard from him before. He's a very trusted source in this. And so, Steve, thank you for joining me tonight. Tell us more. The COP29 United Nations Climate Conference in Azerbaijan. What was the outcome? It doesn't
Jeannie,
sound like they were very happy with it.
Great to join you again. Well, they all agree that they're going to have a foundational agreement when they're done. They're all going to be, that's the charade that is always put forward. Everybody's supposed to agree. We're all in lockstep, but there's just a huge amount of dissension this year. They went into the conference, and by the way, this is a thing where the United States and Europe and the developed nations, the wealthy nations, have said we're destroying Earth's climate. We were the ones who caused it. And then, okay, so all the developing nations for years and years come in and they go, great, you guys are destroying the climate. You're terrible guys. Give us a bunch of money so we can adapt. And so that's what this has become about. They wanted $1 trillion a year, $1 trillion and $300 billion a year by 2035. And it came down to about $300 billion a year by 2035. And even that, a lot of that is loans. It's a lot of other things. We got President Trump coming in who's not going to do this. So it's become a big farce, and so we have all sorts of nations complaining about it. I think you played a clip from a woman from India, and they ignored their comments right at the end so they could get this quote agreement. They didn't really let India speak. They expelled the Argentina.
I found that kind of interesting. So this woman from India is complaining about fossil fuel production and the climate hysteria. And India is one of the largest violators of any sort of emissions that these guys would want. Am I right?
Well, India has taken the position that you guys caused the problem. You can't restrict what we're trying to do. We're a developing nation, so we're going to continue to build coal plants, which they are. They're like the second biggest user of coal in the world after China, I think. And they're building more and more. So it's really, and they said a few years ago, they need $1 trillion a year from the rest of the world to get to net zero by 2060. So it's very crazy. By the way, we had 67,000 people that showed up. They all flew in on private jets or public air transportation. This was literally the biggest climate emitting event on the globe probably this year. And the irony is, as you say, they flew into Baku, Azerbaijan, next to the Caspian Sea, which was the original place where oil wells were drilled in the world. And if you go to that area, there are just all kinds of oil wells on land, all kinds of oil wells on sea. And then the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, got on there and he said, like the first day, that oil and gas was a gift from God, and OPEC backed him up. So there's, it's kind of crazy. And the bottom line is, COP29, this is the 29th of these things. They've been doing them since 1995. And if you look at what's going on, since 2000, world energy use is up like 45%. World carbon dioxide emissions are up 40%. There's no indication that these things are going to decline. And so we have these billions spent to get here and all these people pledging things, and it just isn't having any effect at all.
Well, I mean, let's see what happens, at least in America. Let's just turn to America now. Trump's made some pretty good picks, I think. I played last week the clip from Chris Wright when he is chastising, or actually he's doing a little bit of thank you for using fossil fuels, North Face. Let me remind you that you use them in 90% of your items that you sell. And oh, by the way, even just to make anything that you sell, you're using fossil fuels. And only because we have fossil fuels are people to enjoy the great outdoors, because they have the freedom and the luxury and the time to do so because of fossil fuels. So, I mean, it's a great takedown of these woke companies who think that they can be virtue signals when it comes to energy use and specifically oil. So, I mean, I really enjoy his pick there. And then Lee Zeldin's interesting too, because of course, he's, the far left wants to call him a climate change denier. That's what they're calling him. But he represents New York, and it could be a game changer when it comes to, I guess, fracking in New York, which they have banned there, but Pennsylvania does a lot of it right next door.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Trump is doing things quite differently than his first term. He was very, very late in getting his cabinet put together and his advisors. Mm-hmm. It went well into January, February, March. This year, he's just about named everybody in the first month. I mean, he's very well prepared. And the people he has picked could have a big impact, as you mentioned. Lee Zeldin, EPA administrator. Now, the EPA has a bunch of measures that are out there already that they've passed. New regulations. In April, they passed a power plant emissions regulation, which would get rid of coal plants or force carbon dioxide capture and storage. That is being challenged in court by about 20 states. And it's very possible that Zeldin's going to stop pursuing this, or the Justice Department is going to stop defending these suits under a Trump administration. We have a big car emissions regulation that's going to force automakers not to ship gasoline cars by about 2035. That's another thing that could be struck down under Zeldin. And again, that's another thing being challenged by many different attorneys generals of states. The EPA continues to grant these waivers to California under the 1970 Clean Air Act, which says that only the federal government should be dealing with air pollution unless they grant a waiver. But California's got a crazy waiver on heavy trucks, which is just goofy. I think we've talked about that before. Yes. Mm-hmm. So Zeldin's going to have a big effect on this. And then, as you say, Chris Wright as Energy Secretary is the other guy. Chris Wright has been involved in about 10% of the oil and gas in the country. He founded a firm called Liberty Energy, which fracks about 20% of all of our onshore wells. And the DOE has been doing all kinds of things, shoveling money to everybody for carbon dioxide pipelines, carbon dioxide capture and storage, all these charging stations for electric vehicles. And Trump has already said he's going to cut off that money, the stuff that hasn't already been allocated. Another thing is offshore wind that the Department of Energy has been shoveling money to. Trump says he's going to cut that off too. So we're going to have big changes here, and there's going to be a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. But
my husband,
again,
he works in this area. He's right now working on a transmission line out in the Philadelphia area, mainly because they're planning on shutting down a coal plant, which I think he's right about will actually never shut down because they can't afford to, because we need more energy, not less energy. And so he's working on this transmission line. He's also worked on wind projects. I think he's right. The PTC, the production tax credit for wind, has been in place since 1992. That goes away. Mm-hmm. I don't think you see another wind project.
Well, I think you're right. And also, another thing the Department of Energy has done, Mr. Trump has said he's going to get rid of the tax credit for electric vehicles, a $7,500 tax credit. By the way, do you know if you resell that electric vehicle, you get another tax credit, a used vehicle? And if you resell it again, the second time as a used vehicle, you get another tax credit from the federal government. I mean, it is just phenomenal. But that would really crunch the market as well. And so we're going to see some big changes coming up, and it's going to be a real battle for the next 4 years.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to find it. Holman Jenkins had the perfect description of an EV in an article that he just wrote, and I'm looking for it on my Twitter feed where I put it, but I just thought it was just priceless. Oh my gosh, where is it right now? Oh, the best description is a heavily subsidized status piece for high-end consumers whose large batteries are mainly used to haul around their large batteries.
Yeah, most people buy these are wealthy people. They're not the regular people.
So they're the ones getting.
And we're giving them big subsidies for this.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's a big wealth transfer. And again, I'm not against EVs. They're going to get better and better. Mm-hmm. But the idea that we can make the storms less severe or less frequent if we all drive an EV, that is modern fantasy.
Yes, it is. Okay, Steve, if you don't mind, we're going to hold on. I got a couple more questions for you, but we're going to take a very short break. We'll be right back with you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2025? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest presented by Team Hochberg. Enter once per day, every day between now and December 20th, and you could have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Going on 72 in July. I swim. I'm a swimmer. I play pickleball and I play golf. And I have to say, Balance of Nature really, I feel like I could sing.
I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
It's the best stuff in the world. It's good stuff.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Life takes a toll on our bodies. No way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain, Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference? Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good. And it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree at Fox Valley Coins. And it's on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold from broken jewelry to gold bars to the old coins, U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items. They can pay cash or check and make house calls on larger deals prior to Thanksgiving. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. They'll make free, no-obligation offers. Make that 20,000,001 reasons to go to Fox Valley Coins now. They give free in-store offers on your items.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, welcome back. It is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, and still on the phone with me is Steve Goreham. He is an expert when it comes to energy issues and the climate and getting rid of the hysteria and talking common sense. And so we were talking about a number of issues, but we kind of left off because before I wanted to turn to Illinois. And I got to tell you, right across from the studios here in Elk Grove Village, and I want to thank my temporary producer, Paul, who's filling in for my regular producer, George. But right across from us, they are building a massive data center. And I looked at the building going up. First of all, they demolished whatever used to be there. I think it was just a bunch of other office buildings similar to what I'm in right now. And they demolished them, like, what's going in there? Because it looked odd. There were very few windows. I'm like, what are they building there? It's a data center. It's massive. And apparently, Steve, there's 4 new data center campuses that are being built in Illinois. But this doesn't seem to really fit in with Illinois' climate action plan.
Yeah, we're headed down a path for a bit of a problem. In 2019, the state put in a data center incentive program, which offers tax exemptions from state and local sales for companies that build data centers. We have 156 data centers in Illinois right now, which is about, I think it makes us about 6th or so. But as you say, there's 4 big data center campuses that are being built in Illinois right now, and millions of square feet of these huge buildings. They want to put in the high-speed servers to run artificial intelligence in those, and those use vast amounts of power. And yeah, the Illinois plan right now. So we have about 25% coal as our electricity in Illinois, 9% gas, 5% renewable, 61% nuclear. That is the good news. The bad news is that we're really not going to be able to build wind and solar and handle all this new increased demand. And we have states all over the nation right now, in Texas, in Virginia, in Washington, in Georgia, that are finding out that we're not going to have enough power to both close down coal plants, which is part of the Illinois plan, close down that 25% that's coal, and try and get rid of the gas. They also want to have 1 million EVs on the road, which we use a lot of power. And they want us to start putting in heat pumps instead of natural gas in homes. These things are going to clash. It's just not going to be possible. So we are headed for a big imbalance between demand and supply for electricity as more and more of these data centers get built and as they try and go and close those coal and gas plants down.
Well, it'll be interesting. I would think that the federal government's policies would influence what he's trying to do here. He can incentivize all he wants, but at some point you have to provide the power that your people need. And I think it's all going to just collapse on its own weight, but that's me.
Well, I think so as well, because the Trump administration is going to quit shoveling money to things like carbon dioxide capture and storage and wind and solar and a lot of other things. And we're already seeing it around the country. The Diablo nuclear plant in California has been extended. They're restarting the Palisades nuclear plant in Michigan that was closed 2 years ago. Microsoft now has a contract to restart a 3 Mile Island plant in western Pennsylvania, all because they need electricity. Coal plants have been extended, 2 of them in Wyoming, 2 of them in Utah, a couple in West Virginia. They're looking at extending plants in Tennessee as well, and I think in Illinois they're going to have to. There's no way we can build these data centers, switch to EVs, shut down the coal plants. It's just not going to be possible.
Yeah, well, he'll try, and he'll spend a lot of money trying, but in the end, I think that you're right, that they can't do it. But in the meantime, guys, you're going to get screwed over on this. You're going to get completely screwed over. Okay, so the last time you joined us, though, you did warn about the global lithium battery fire epidemic. And I will say on Twitter, they had essentially they were showing pictures of an EV on fire in Orland Park. I haven't found out more information about that, but apparently this is happening fairly frequently.
These are going on all over the place. Just imagine what happened in Germany. They had a electric emergency vehicle in a fire station in Germany that exploded, and it produced a fire that caused 20 million euros in damage. It burned up 10 fire trucks. They had 170 firefighters fighting this fire of a fire station because they had an electric EV. Last month, we had a big battery recycling plant in Missouri that went up, which is supposed to take these batteries, chop them up, and get the minerals out of them. Well, guess what? One of them ignited, set off this plant, burned up the whole place. They had 2 recycling battery plants in Scotland go up earlier this year. I mean, this is just going on and on.
Well, not to mention 50 Rivian EVs were destroyed by a fire that were sitting outside the factory. 50 of them.
In Normal, Illinois. That's right. That's right. And State Farm has just said they're going to remove all the EV charging stations from their parking lots at all their facilities around the country because of fire risk. Just another problem with trying to force everybody to drive an electric vehicle.
But they're actually coming up with these funky ways to charge just on the street. Like these charging stations could explode themselves as they're charging.
They can, yeah, and that is another issue.
He was ribbon cutting this week on these new EV charging stations that he's put up. And
I don't want him close to. Yeah. I know. It's really crazy, and I think again the world's going to step back to this. People are going to demand a return to low-cost, reliable energy. We're going to put a little bit of a break on EVs and on all these other things that we're trying to do for green energy.
Okay, so you've predicted this. You wrote an entire book about it called The Green Breakdown, and you predicted the world's going to head to renewable energy failure. You predicted that. Do you see any signs other than Trump's victory that this is going to actually happen?
Oh yeah, we're seeing, for example, electric vehicle, electric equipment company stocks are performing very poorly. The Renix index of the top 30 green equipment companies is down now over the last 20 years, and the S&P 500 is quadrupled. We have an EV speed bump this year. EV share is falling in the United States and in Europe. I mean, there's just many, many things going on. And as you say, when Mr. Trump gets in, he's going to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords, throw a big wrench into that. So we're seeing more and more issues here, and it's going to take a long time. It's still a very, very powerful force, but I think people are going to get back to what's sensible.
All right. Well, he's Steve Goreham. Again, he is the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America and author of 4 books on energy and more. And you can contact him and reach it and look at his information at www.stevegoreham.com. stevegoreham.com. Thanks, Steve, so much for joining me on The Real Story. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeannie. Until the next time.
You bet. All right. Okay, and we're going to go to a caller real quick. We're going to take Glenn in Orlando. Hey, Glenn, welcome to the program. You're on with Jeannie Ives. Sorry.
Hi, that's okay, no problem.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, we're trying to patch Glenn in. He had a call.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Okay, Paul,
Sorta?
I'm not hearing him. All right, I think we're just going to try and catch him later. Okay, so coming up, you hold on, Glenn, because we're going to take your call after the break. And also after this break, we are having Alderman Ray Lopez. And we're just going to talk about Chicago craziness because there's plenty of it going around. And Ray's a common sense voice on the city council there. And so there's a lot to discuss, everything from the property tax increase to the school board elections and much, much more. So don't turn the dial. This is Jeannie Ives with The Real Story on AM 560. And we will take your calls, 312-642-5600 after this break, and we'll hear from Ray Lopez.
Charlie Kirk sees a battle coming.
From the intel community, from the National Security Advisor, the National Security Agency, they're going to spy on Trump. They're going to listen to every single phone call Trump has. They're going to bug Trump's office. And so from day one, we need to rip that thing down to first principles and anticipate that this is going to be a 15-round battle against the intel agency.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Democrats are determined to carefully vet President-elect Trump's cabinet choices, including his pick for Attorney General.
Pam Bondi will have a hearing and will be able to make her views clear. I think the things that I look at is someone competent and are they going to uphold the law?
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar on ABC's This Week. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth tells CBS's Face the Nation she has an issue with Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth for his opposition to women serving in military combat roles.
Our military could not go to war without the 220,000 plus women who serve in uniform. The women in our military does make us more effective.
She has served in the U.S. Army Reserve and Army National Guard. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Reveille. Illinoisans have a lot to be concerned about. The governor's own Office of Management and Budget expects spending to balloon over the next 5 years, accumulating budget deficits of $22 billion. 2 bills have been introduced to adjust Tier 2 pension benefits. Any adjustment will massively increase the unfunded liability and the annual pension payment. That pension payment last year was nearly 20% of the budget. Illinois is also facing energy deficits. At the same time, it is wrongfully incentivizing large energy users with tax subsidies to locate here. We also have the second highest unemployment rate in the nation. Instead of tackling these issues and more,
Governor Pritzker is turning the land of Lincoln into the devil's playground. First, throughout the presidential campaign, Pritzker spent money with his Think Big America PAC to enshrine abortion rights in other states' constitutions, at the same time vowing to keep Illinois a mecca for abortion. In 7 of the 10 states that abortion referendum were on the ballot, abortion rights were expanded. Also to be noted, in Illinois, a second abortion clinic is opening up in Rockford. Last week, Pritzker picked a fight with Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, vowing to protect illegal immigrants from deportation. This week, he's doubling down on keeping Illinois a safe space for the sexual mutilation of children. His aggressive policies have given trans people superior rights to others, especially in our schools. Is this the type of governor Illinoisans wanted? It says a lot about voters that there isn't more pushback on his radical policies. But there's hope. The progressive agenda is ending. It may take longer in Illinois, but when NFL players are doing the Trump dance, you know Americans from all walks of life are waking up and are unafraid. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
We've got our technical difficulties fixed, and so we're going to take this quick call from Glenn in Orlando before we get to my guest. Glenn, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining me on The Real Story.
Thanks. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So this Tuesday, there's going to be a national grassroots call with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz in the afternoon. It's a virtual event. Everybody can attend from anywhere, and it's basically to thank the supporters. So I'm going to listen in to hear what they got to say, and maybe I'll play the YMCA song while I'm listening to it. So.
Oh, now just, you know what? Like I read at the top of the hour, you've got Anthony Blinken holding crying sessions in therapy for the State Department employees because Trump was elected. So, you know, let's just let them have their pity party. And you know,
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
That means that Tuesday, everybody's going to be off work on Tuesday then. They're taking a mental health day on Tuesday.
Now that would be the problem. That would be the problem, which is why Darrell Issa is apparently subpoenaing or looking at for how much it cost Anthony Blinken to hold therapy sessions for the crying State Department people. You cannot make this up. It's just so ridiculous. Hey, Glenn, thanks a lot for your phone call. I really appreciate you listening in.
Sure.
All right. Take care. Have fun. Okay. Now on the phone with me is Alderman Ray Lopez. And you know what, Ray, there's so much to talk about. that's going on with Chicago. Let's start with this. The Illinois Supreme Court came down with that decision that, Jussie Smollett has basically served his time, paid his repentance. I think he did 15 hours of community service, paid a $10,000 fee. And you know what? We can't try him again. And that's exactly what happened with Dan Webb. And so my opinion is that Kim Foxx ought to be the one sitting in jail on probation and paying the $130,000 fine because she essentially made this happen.
Well, look at all the damage, and good evening, Jeannie, to you and to your listeners. Look at all the damage that's been done to our court system because of this hoax, because of this fake hate crime.
Yes.
In a county where we have real hate crimes, where we have individuals trying to target and kill Jewish people, you do this fake hate crime with nooses and all of this, and you get to walk away like nothing has ever happened, no harm, no foul as far as the courts are concerned on technicalities. It's outrageous. It's insulting. And, if there was a way to hold Kim Foxx responsible, taking away her indemnity the way that they want to take away police indemnification, then it should be done on this case as a prime example of why there are no consequences with these far-reaching state's attorneys who have no regard for law enforcement.
Yeah, I would say that I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that 95% of Chicagoans feel the same way that you do, and feel that this is a travesty that this happened, and yet this is the black eye of Chicago, which is unfortunate because it gave the national media another chance to just dump on Chicago, and that we've just got so many like people in particular positions that shouldn't be there that just make bad decisions. And I don't understand the voters when they vote for people like Kim Foxx.
Well, thankfully, Kim Foxx is not going to be an issue for another month.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Although she's doing her little victory lap tour saying she could have won again, I don't think that would have been the case. Because if she could have, she would have.
Oh, I didn't know she was saying that. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And as you know, as an elected official, if you can win, you will win. And you don't just walk away saying, "Oh, well, I could have done it if I wanted to." No, you were going to lose. And rightfully so. But yeah, just the sheer amount of damage that's been done to the credibility of law enforcement. And think about it, you intentionally created, as a black man, a fake hate crime, pulling on the tears of what your ancestors really went through, just so that you could make $200,000 an episode as opposed to the $150 or whatever you were making on the TV show. It's sad.
Well, he'll be first in line for reparations too, because he's been so victimized. Hey, but you've got, unfortunately, and it is unfortunate. Chicago is an incredible city. It absolutely is.
Absolutely.
It really is. But boy, the people that they elect, and the next one up is unfortunately the person you have to talk to occasionally, and that's Brandon Johnson. Marianne Ahern tweeted out the new poll, 14% favorable rating for Chicago mayor. This was a Change Research poll, 854 interviewed. I mean, his net faves are the lowest out of a whole slew of people that you would suspect should be at the bottom too, including he has less of a favorable rating than even the Chicago Teachers Union. How is that even possible?
Well, I think when you play the same cards over and over every time you're questioned legitimately about your leadership, about the state of the city, about its finances, or about life in general, people get tired of hearing that. They want to hear how you're going to uplift Chicago, how you're going to make it better, how you're going to leave it better than how you received it, what you're going to do different. And we never get that from him. We just get the same boring talking points playing on the same tired cards over and over again. And people don't want to hear that anymore. They want to come out of the pandemic. They want to come out of the fog that was COVID, and they want to see the city as we all grew up knowing and loving it. And you can't do that when you make excuses like we've seen for yet another teen takeover downtown. What was it, last night at the tree lighting ceremony?
Mm-hmm.
You have people who are shot. You don't want to even acknowledge it. We have things that are out of control in our communities where parents are non-existent. You don't want to acknowledge that. And yet you still find a way to funnel $600 million in taxpayer money towards migrant asylum seekers who are just causing all kinds of pandemonium in our neighborhoods,
Yeah.
it's no wonder you're at 14%. A no-brainer.
Yeah, no, he's a guy with no ideas, and all he does is blame shift. Hey, hold on, Ray. We have to take a short break. I apologize. We'll be right back because I want to play this clip of Brandon Johnson talking about Trump.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Maybe if I'm going on a long hike, several hours, I like to bring some Balance of Nature.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you.
I've always was taught to eat very healthy growing up. My family was Italian and Greek. We had vegetables and fruits all the time growing up. I feel wonderful. I feel terrific. I love your commercials. I think it's a wonderful way to do this.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98, now only $59.98. The 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and be sure to use promo code LIBERTY to save on all MyPillow products. That's 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 or the 6-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free or use promo code LIBERTY at MyPillow.com.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, I'm talking with Alderman Ray Lopez, and I like him so much because he's a serious person because public policy is a serious thing to consider because you're really affecting people's lives. And so the decisions you make, Ray is very much aware of, aren't decisions just for himself or his situation. No, that they're decisions that will affect people. But there are some people who just are the most unserious politicians. And unfortunately, Brandon Johnson is gaslighting Chicagoans. I want you to listen to this clip. This is him talking about Trump and deportation.
As a black man, why would I cooperate with agents that are looking to terrorize people? And so here's what I'm recommending to the president. Here's what I recommend to him. That the city of Chicago is the greatest city in the world. He has an opportunity to actually figure out how to unite this country. There are working people in this city that are afraid, scared. How could someone be that comfortable knowing that he is causing that type of fear and terror? That can't come from government leadership. That looks a lot like some of the things that I would teach when I was a social studies teacher. And it looks like a really nasty form of government that would isolate people. It's that type of mindset that not only enslaved people, but it sent people to gas chambers. So we're going to defend people. We're going to make sure that we're protecting families in this city. So he can help with that or get out the way.
Okay, Ray, your comment on Brandon Johnson's comment.
He used as a black man, at the same time he was trying to keep the $150,000 campaign contribution from Lil Durk. So I don't know if that's an equivalent that he wants to use right now. But let me just say this. Overwhelmingly, African Americans and Latinos broke for Donald Trump in greater numbers than anyone anticipated in the city of Chicago and as well throughout the entire state of Illinois. Clearly, his message resonates, and that message did include addressing the undocumented and the migrant asylum seekers who are here engaging in criminal activity while they are here as guests of our nation, particularly some of the 12 million Venezuelans that are here. All of us, whether you are black, white, brown, yellow, whatever, want to be in safe communities. And the fact that the mayor just doesn't get it just is mind-boggling to me, especially as somebody who represents many undocumented individuals. What they want, and this is where I think Donald Trump has the greatest opportunity, is if he were to move and take action on the dreamers, the DACA kids, those young people who are brought here as children by no fault of their own, and if he were to give them a path forward, a legal path forward, while also getting rid of all of those individuals who manipulated the asylum process through the Biden-Harris administration to get here, he'd probably have an immigration consensus overnight and be able to move the needle more in 1 week than Democrats or Republicans have done in 4 decades.
So you're talking about I think it's around 85,000 folks that were identified and given the title DACA, and that was under, I believe that was under Obama's administration. You're talking about them, or are you talking about everybody who came here as a child that meets the criteria if they came under the age of 16, they've kept their nose clean, they're on track, or who would you put?
I'm talking about all of them that would have been registered or eligible.
Registered or
eligible. I think the program ended.
Yes.
After court challenges and whatnot. But I think if Donald Trump were to pick that up and say, look, these folks are basically as American as anybody else. They've known no other country other than this one, because many of them came here when they were babies. Let's fix that first, because where are you going to deport them to? And I think that's a great way to at least start the conversation. But at the same time, Donald Trump needs to also address the fact that there are many individuals who are in this country, whether they are undocumented or if they were given temporary protective status by the Biden-Harris administration, that are doing heinous things in our cities, in our countries. And those individuals do not need safe harbor. They do not need to be protected, and they should be expelled from the United States immediately. I think he could accomplish both in the same breath, and not aggravate his supporters while enlarging his tent with all the new people who put their faith in him this election.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that you're right about a lot of that. I mean, they've already got 1.4 million that have been identified that they need to be deported, and so that needs to happen. 13,000 murderers or rapists need to be deported because they've already been convicted of that. Those are the first tranches. But it does sound, it's really, you look at this and you just wonder, is Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker, are they setting themselves up to have clashes with the federal government that will really impact Illinoisans, where it might be not just federal dollars that go away, but you could see court cases that drag out, and you could see, directives to police be a problem. Are you guys planning do you guys have any contingency plan, or are you waiting to see what Homan says they expect local law enforcement to do and then have the fight?
Well, first, I can't speak to Pritzker, but I'm sure his administration is along the same lines as Johnson's, and saying that they have no contingency because they're going to stick to their values. They're going to say that we are a welcoming city, a welcoming state, and Donald Trump is not going to have any impact on that. I hate to break the news to him. He's the president of the federal government in the United States of America. He's the chief executive of the federal branch that is going to be responsible for carrying out these orders, and they cannot get in the way of what national law is. What's going to happen to those politicians like Pritzker, like Johnson, or like the mayor of Denver, Johnston, who's saying he's going to line up police cars so that ICE can't drive into Denver? They're going to roll right over those individuals.
That's right.
I mean, at some point, the federal government has to be allowed to protect the sovereignty of our nation, even if our own internal politics are trying to subvert that.
Well, what does it say about
that's going to be the interesting thing? Will they be held liable and thrown in jail or held in contempt when that happens?
Well, I'll tell you what. Brandon Johnson's comment, first of all, is despicable. Essentially saying that Trump is like a slave owner and Hitler. I mean, that's essentially what he was saying. That's bad enough. I mean, he's completely shredding history and shredding the office of the presidency when he does that. But how about like instructing your people by, these are the laws. They have they do not care about actually informing folks. This is the law. We have to follow the law. We expect people to follow the law. You expect your neighbors to follow the law. And they're not doing that. I mean, they're creating more chaos at the end of the day, and and confusion in people. And for that, they should be called out.
Well, the Democratic Party, as we both have seen over the past several years, has become the party of the criminal enabler. And we've seen it in our neighborhoods, we've seen it in our streets, we've seen it in our courtrooms, and now we're seeing it trying to extend to the national level, where even if you come here and we give you asylum pending a case, we're still going to keep you as you kill, rape, and loot and steal. That makes absolutely no sense. And for whatever reason, the Democratic Party can't seem to understand that there's a difference between a wise welcome and an unchecked welcome into your country. And that's something that we have to get past and we have to address immediately, because, if you're going to teach people that there are no consequences, they will grow up being the youth that we're seeing terrorizing our city right now, doing flash mobs, but it'll be on a national scale. And that is not who we are, and that is not how we remain the greatest country in the world.
Well, so while he's going to fight the federal government every which way he can, at the same time, his other value is to raise property taxes. That's his other value. And
yep.
I mean, come on, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Cut the budget. You need a Doge for Chicago. I'm calling on us to be a partner in Doge. I'm gonna try and put up a tip line on my website, and I want people to call in with every place that they can find fraud, waste, and abuse.
Well, let's not forget, while he's gaslighting Donald Trump as being the next Hitler for thinking that, we should maintain our sovereignty and our national security and our border, he accused all of us in city council who opposed his $300 million property tax increase as being descendants of the Confederacy.
Did he really?
Oh yeah. He early on, when many of us, myself included, stood up and said, no new property taxes, let's cut, let's right-size government. He said that, all of these politicians that are saying that we need to cut and be more efficient are using the same argument that the slave masters used trying to avoid having to free the slaves, that it'd be too costly, it'd be too this, too that.
Oh my gosh.
These tropes are getting old. They're getting tiresome. And people want government. They know they have to pay for it, but they don't want to pay for more than what they don't need. And when you're unwilling to change and challenge the status quo, and you just simply think you could keep tapping that well of taxpayers' wallets, they get tired of it. And they're tired of it right now. 80% of Chicagoans want us to do something other than tax them. They want to see cuts in the government, almost 10% across the board. They would love to see.
Right.
He's going to fight us tooth and nail, but we have to do it. And you cannot make the federal one-time money permanent on the backs of Chicago taxpayers.
Well, that's what they did, and that's what the teacher unions. You've got some fights on your hands, and I appreciate you having you're a principled guy, Ray. I really appreciate that. You're a leader among your caucuses there, and you keep at it. We really do. We watch what you're doing. We appreciate it out here in the suburbs, because we know if Chicago goes to the state for money, it's coming from us. So God bless you, Ray. Thanks for everything you do. And we'll be right back with the real story. That was Ray Lopez, alderman from Chicago.
The fentanyl epidemic is killing 400 Americans per day. The new documentary, Fentanyl Death Incorporated, takes a deep dive into this deadly killer.
It is the equivalent of a 747 going down every 2 days.
The 9,000 kilograms that were seized by the HIDTA program last year is sufficient to kill the population of the United States several times over.
Americans age 18 to 45 are the #1 consumers of fentanyl. Our friends, our neighbors, our own family members.
The Surgeon General released the report on the epidemic of loneliness. us, and that is a real thing.
Where is all of this stuff coming from?
Who's in the fentanyl supply chain? Where are the super labs? How are they using our open borders to cause such devastation?
All roads lead back to China.
The danger is all around us. The time is now.
They're killing our children. And how do we change that?
Don't miss this important documentary report, Fentanyl, Death Incorporated. It could save the life of someone you love. Available exclusively at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. For the first time in 4 decades, Republicans are basking in the embrace of pop culture. Boxers and football players are doing the Trump dance. Leaning right is the new counterculture. It's fun for conservatives to swim in the mainstream, especially after having been marginalized by the left for so long. But Republicans will make a great mistake if they draw the wrong lessons from the 2024 elections. Republicans didn't win because a majority of voters signed on to their agenda. They won because the Biden-Harris administration was an utter, arrogant failure, and because Donald Trump is a unique and engaging pop culture figure who was able to capture key constituencies of working class and minority voters. Republicans haven't yet cemented this new coalition. They can, but they'll need to enact policies that make these new voters' lives noticeably better. Let's get to work. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Welcome back. Well, that was a fast 2 hours. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm here every Sunday night, 7 to 9 p.m. You can go to breakthrough-ideas.com, sign up for my newsletter, connect with us on social media. I also do Facebook Lives where I talk about things that I don't have time to talk about on the show. So there's lots of ways to be informed. Being an informed constituent is really the best protection for our republic. So I encourage you to get as much information as possible and get involved. Thanks so much and have a happy and blessed Thanksgiving. We are still the greatest nation on the earth.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Violence in the Mideast. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. A rabbi who went missing in Dubai last week has been found dead. Meanwhile, the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel escalates. Fox's Alex Hogan with the latest.
The UAE has reportedly arrested 3 men involved in the murder of that missing Israeli rabbi. The 28-year-old rabbi went missing on Thursday in Dubai, where he lived, and the government here speaking out, condemning that, calling this an act of anti-Semitic terror. Sirens sounding across Israel with Hezbollah in Lebanon ramping up attacks. The Iranian-backed militant group launched more than 200 rockets and missiles across the country, according to the IDF. One of those strikes hit central Israel, wounding several people there. And further north in the city of Haifa, a rocket hit a residential building, wounding at least 3 others.
Israel retaliated, launching a strike on a residential building in Beirut. Officials say at least 20 people were killed, 80 wounded. President-elect Donald Trump has named his top 15 cabinet picks next the confirmation process.
The new Senate Majority Leader-elect, John Thune, has made it clear that it won't be easy to try to get all of these cabinet picks through the Senate, given the fact that Republicans have a 53-seat majority. And he has also made clear that recess appointments are on the table, particularly for some of these more controversial picks, like, for instance, his pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is accused of sexual assault in a 2017 police report, and the former Hawaii Congressman.